24 September 2021, and today I want to quickly go through the interview that MDC Alliance President Nelson Chamisa had yesterday with Blessed Mhlanga. And that interview was very revealing. It shows where Chamisa is emotionally and mentally. And it's very, very sad, because after watching the interview, which is about an hour, it is clear that Nelson Chamisa is out of touch with the situation on the ground, and he's taking his supporters for granted. So I don't want to talk for long. I just want to summarize the key points of what Chamisa said, and then I want to conclude. But the situation is clear. Chamisa is no longer the Chamisa that we know, and the state of the opposition in Zimbabwe is now very, very bad because of the key mistakes in assessing the environment on Chamisa's part, his unwillingness to change the way he's approaching the situation. So let me quickly look at what he said, and then I'll conclude. So firstly, he said MDC Alliance is indestructible, it is unconquerable. He says Mnangagwa will not get to 2023. Remember, he's been saying that Mnangagwa will not finish his term up to 2023. He repeated that when he was questioned. And then he said MDCT of Ngonzora is a creation of ZANU-PF, and he will not talk about those people because they're not a real opposition. And then when asked about the name, the fact that Ngonzora has now taken the name MDC Alliance, Chamisa said at a later time, before the elections, the MDC Alliance will have a distinct name. But for now, the name of his party is the MDC Alliance. Then, in terms of whether they are a powerful party or not, Chamisa said if MDC Alliance was weak and irrelevant, then ZANU-PF was not going to spend so much money investing money on attacking the MDC Alliance or attacking Chamisa. So he said that shows that he is the real opposition in Zimbabwe. He also mentioned that he is recognized by the regional leaders and also by international bodies and leaders. Then in terms of a plan, when asked if he has got a plan, Chamisa said he's got a plan, but he will not reveal it. He will not warn his enemies of what he's planning. Then on defections, he says that the people who are defecting from MDC Alliance, who are being paraded by ZANU-PF, are not members of the MDC Alliance. They are people who left long back. He gave an example of Chiroto and said that person contested under another party. And then when asked about the 2018 elections, which they lost in court, Chamisa said they did not lose, but the judiciary was against them. They had all the V11s. The government of Zimbabwe prevented the courts from looking at the server, which they had subpoenaed, and that was rejected. So the whole court case was not done properly. That is what Chamisa said. Then let's look at 2023. Chamisa said the military should salute whoever would have won. Obviously, he meant himself. And he said if that does not happen, they are going to take action. So something is going to happen. Because he said, once bitten, twice shy. In terms of sanctions, he says that the sanctions that were placed on Zimbabwe are not hurting Zimbabwe. What is hurting Zimbabwe is corruption. And he gave the example of the forex auction system, where he said fuel companies are buying petrol in using subsidized dollars. But when you go to any garage in Zimbabwe, all the petrol is being sold in US dollars. So he said that is corruption. That is what is killing the country and creating fake billionaires, not the sanctions. In terms of dialogue, he says Poland is not a genuine dialogue. It is a choir. It is a place where people who agree with E.D. Mnangagwa are meeting. So he's not going to go there. He wants a real dialogue that is supervised by the region and by regional leaders, because he's got a dispute which goes to 2018 with E.D. Mnangagwa. in terms of the amendment to the constitution, he says he does not support the amendment to the constitution. And then he says, now what has happened in Zimbabwe is that the executive, parliament, and the judiciary have all been captured. And in fact, he promised that in 2023, there will be a dispute. The election in 2023, Chamisa said that election is going to be disputed. Then in terms of the recalls, he said his party, the MDC Alliance, never attempted to recall people like Monzora, people like Komichi, although Blessed pressed him and showed him that when they had written letters, he said that that's not true, that did not happen. Chamisa also spoke about Monzora and said Monzora begged him to appoint him as a PR, a proportional representative senator, because he had lost. So they had to beg Mutsekwa from Manicaland to make way for Monzora. Similarly, Mudzuri was given a space, and I'm sure Komichi also, they were given space. They begged Chamisa, and now they've turned back and are biting him in the back after he gave them positions in Senate. Then in terms of 2014, Chamisa said he never lost to Monzora. Monzora used money to buy votes. He was working with state security agencies already. And Morgan Tsvangirai was aware that Monzora was working with state security agencies to sort of like block Chamisa. So that is what he said. Although Monzora has his own version of the story, which already published here in the past. Now, on the issue of Harvest House, Chamisa said the issue is before the Supreme Court and they are waiting for the Supreme Court to make a judgment. However, if they wanted, they could take over Harvest House and there's nothing that Monzora could do. That is strange because remember Chamisa and his guys, they took over Harvest House and they lost it before. So I do not think that is the correct position, but that is what Chamisa said in terms of Harvest House. So he says the Harvest House is still the place where MDC Alliance, his party, is supposed to be operating from. When it comes to Eddie Cross, he says Eddie Cross, he will not talk to him because Eddie Cross is now benefiting from the system. Specifically, he says Eddie Cross has gone into deals in Kwekwe, in Victoria Falls, and he also got a license for the second pipeline without any tender. So this is what he said. Eddie Cross had written a manifesto for the MDC Alliance, but they rejected it because it was not people-centered, it was elitist and capitalist, and the MDC Alliance is a labor-based party. That is what Chamisa said regarding Eddie Cross and the fact that they did not listen to him. And then, in conclusion, Chamisa said people in government should not be driving the best and most beautiful cars in Zimbabwe. The people who should be driving the most beautiful and lovely cars are in the private sector who are productive. The people who are in government should be serving. They should be providing a service. And he also said that vaccination must not be forced on anyone. It must be a choice. So that is what Chamisa said. Very, very defensive. Very, very backward looking. That is the problem that I had with this interview. He did not appear to be someone who is forward looking. He did not want to lay out a plan. He is so concerned about outsmarting ZANU-PF to the point that I think he's now taking his supporters for granted. Where do we, let's say you're a supporter of Chamisa, how do you know where you're going? How do you know where you're not going? The key issues of dialogue, of the name of the party, those are key issues. Contesting the election when the field, he's complaining that the field is not even, and yet he's going into this election. I feel that Chamisa is making the mistakes that he made before. And this time, he seems to think he's the only person that can be trusted with information. And I think this is not correct. If ZANU-PF is not doing well if ZANU-PF is messing up, if ZANU-PF is not managing the economy well, then no matter what happens, they can't steal his ideas. But it seems like he thinks he has to keep everything close to his chest. He has to hide information from his supporters. And I think this is going to cost him. There's going to be lack of buy-in to his ideas. And this is going to be his biggest downfall come 2023. People won't understand him, especially if they change the name close to the elections. If you look at the issue of Harvest House, there is no way that Chamisa can get Harvest House back. There's no way that Chamisa can overturn the court ruling, the Supreme Court ruling. In fact, two of them, on the elections and also on the... so that is the elections and also on the ownership of the name MDC Alliance, on whether Chamisa was elected properly. So some of these things, at some point, Chamisa has to draw the line and say, I'm moving away from this. I'm moving forward. But that is the point where he is failing to make the break from the old and move to the new. Chamisa needs to redefine. And if he fails to redefine, he's not going to make it in 2023, especially given that Idi Mnangagwa is doing so well with the construction of the roads, construction of the dams, and the message for Idi Mnangagwa is very, very clear. He's modernizing the country, he's mechanizing agriculture, and things are working. His message is clear and compelling. When you look at Chamisa, his message is vague, not clear, and he's not leading his supporters from the front. He's driving while looking backwards to 2018. We're in 2021. That is 3 years. We have passed the halfway mark since the election. So now he needs to be driving and pushing for the 2023 elections, new name, new coalition, and changing the narrative. If you look at what he said about Nkosana Moyo, he said Nkosana Moyo does not understand the economy. I can assure you that next time he tries to go to Nkosana Moyo, he's not going to get anything from him. The fight has already started. Chamisa is a very proud person, and he does not want to work with a team. So like I said, Chamisa cannot create a system. That is his problem. He likes to work as an individual who leads a body, whereas his opponent Idi Mnangagwa creates a system that works, and a system works better than an individual. That is where Chamisa is going to lose this. You'll be surprised when he finds out that ZANU-PF has got structures on the ground. They've got proper structures at their head offices, and they're doing the visible things that will make them win. And Chamisa's interview, it was clear that he does not get this, and he thinks, or he feels as if he's back in 2018, whereas he's supposed to be thinking to the future. He's supposed to be seeing around those corners, something that he's failing to do. Right, I'm going to end it here today, and I would like to ask you to go and watch the full interview. Blessed Mhlanga had that interview on Hearts and Soul TV. Go and watch the interview. Very, very interesting and very nice questions asked there. Let's see what happens. But this interview shows where Chamisa is in terms of how he's thinking. And I was not impressed. I was not impressed by the way Chamisa is thinking. I want him to do better, but he's not doing better at the moment. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, comment, and share on this post. Like our Facebook page and subscribe to the Gambako Media YouTube channel.